Alright, so here we are, the Season 5 commentary for Funko Street. For those of you who watch my channel, you're probably wondering why this took so long, because it's been like about a month since the show ended. The reason why this commentary took so long was because I actually did try recording this originally. Like, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 days after the final episode, came out. And I recorded, like, seriously, like an hour of commentary, and then all of a sudden my laptop started glitching out. So the way I record these commentaries is I use, Windows Movie Maker, which is obviously a very bad software, but I do love it because that's what I use to make this show. There's a record narration option on Windows Movie Maker, which is what I'm using right now, actually. And that's what I've always used for the commentaries. So I go to do the commentary, I hit record narration, and yeah, I talk for a good hour, and then all of a sudden my laptop started glitching out. I was like, what the heck's going on? So I was like, you know what, if anything, I can just stop the commentary right now and just pick up where I left off and make it, make it seem like one long commentary, just edit the two parts together. So I stopped the narration or whatever, and then I go to listen to it, and for some reason, the audio file was completely messed up. Like, it sounded like a bunch of buzzing and just a lot of noise and static, and like my voice, you could hear it, but it was all distorted and like in slow motion. It was so weird. I don't know what the heck that was. So understandably, I was pretty upset because, like I said, I talked for an hour in great detail, and it was for nothing. So I was like really furious about that. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna record the commentary until like I feel like it. Yeah, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to take a break. Because, it's hard to find time to do this, because this is obviously a 2-hour thing. So I was like, alright, whenever I get the time, I'm going to do the commentary, whatever, however long it takes. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. That's the reason why it took so long. I was really mad. So what I'm doing right now, I'm doing the same thing again, recording on Windows Movie Maker, which, probably, I hope it doesn't glitch again. But just in case, I'm also recording this commentary on my iPhone, which I'm holding in my hand. So I got two things recording me at the same time. So just in case one doesn't work, I'm sure the iPhone, obviously, the what do you call it, the voice memo is going to work fine, if I have to use that. If Windows Movie Maker decides to glitch out again, then I'm doing this. Anyways, so that's why it took so long. Now, I wish that original commentary would have worked out, because, like I said, I recorded that a couple days after the season ended, and it was still, like, really fresh in my mind. Like, this show, this season, I should say, it's still somewhat fresh in my mind, but I'm still kind of like, I'm a month out from when it ended and everything. So, it's going to be a little more, not difficult, but kind of weird to explain all the stuff that went into it. But anyways, yeah, this is Season 5, the final season, of course. And I already explained why I wanted to end the show, the way I did, or the way and why I wanted to end it. Oh, somebody's outside doing, I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, great. Somebody's doing, like, lawn maintenance. I think that's, like, a weed whacker they're using. Do you hear that? I'm right by my window, so I can hear that. Wow, this is going great. Anyways, I already explained in great detail why I wanted to end the season, or the show, with Season 5, or whatever. If you want to know all the details about that, there's a video I did last year called The State of Funko Street. And in that video, I explain why I had to end this. Wow, I think they're mowing their lawn now. Who's doing that? You guys can probably hear that. I don't know if you can. Like, I'm right by my window, so. Anyways, that's annoying. You know, it's hard because I got to talk for 2 hours, right? And God knows this commentary might get messed up too. And I've already got somebody making noise outside my window. Oh man, this is really annoying. Jesus, can they stop already? Hold on a minute. I'm gonna go look out my window. Hold on, let me see this. Hold on a minute. Let's see here. Yep, right by my window. This guy's on a lawnmower. Are you kidding me? Okay, let's try this again. So here we are. This is episode 41. Jeez, I don't know how loud that is. Is that like... Can you guys... I'm sure you guys can hear me fine, but like how loud is that in the background? If you can hear it at all. I don't know. I'm sure you can hear it. It's pretty loud. Wow. Like seriously, you couldn't write this. I mean, come on. Literally as soon as I start doing the commentary, somebody's doing lawn maintenance outside. You kidding me, man? Oh my god. I don't want to have to restart this comment. I don't want to have to do a third commentary. This is like annoying. Seriously? Alright, anyways, I need to get back into this because oh, by the way, if you guys haven't even like watched any of this, you should not watch this commentary because I'm going to talk about everything that happens. So go and watch season 5 before you do anything here with this video. And yeah, anyways, this is episode 41, Weapon LXIX. That's a pretty obvious title there. If you guys are familiar with Wolverine here, Weapon X from the comics. And one of my favorite things about this show is coming up with creative titles. And this one seemed like a no-brainer, Weapon LXIX. If you don't know, Roman numerals, LXIX means 69. So that's what Deadpool refers to himself as, Weapon 69, while he's posing like Burt Reynolds on the Cosmopolitan magazine. Wow, I'm irritated right now by this guy outside doing the lawnmower stuff. Oh my god, this is so stupid. Like, are you kidding? Like, seriously, I've been up for a couple hours now. It's actually noon right now, and there was no noise at all outside until I started doing this commentary. So that's irritating. But anyways, yeah. So when I ended, when I made that video about, you know, I'm gonna end the show in season 5 or whatever for all the various reasons I had. I realized I had to, what's the word? I had to compress all the ideas I had. Because I had ideas for the show to go almost to 10 seasons. You know, I had somewhat various ideas for what would happen in all the seasons leading to season 10. I don't know if the show would have went even longer, but what I had to do was take all the ideas I had for, let's say, season 5, 6, 7, and stick them all together into this season here. And that's basically what had to happen. Because originally in season 5, it was all going to be about mainly Travis versus Task Force X. And then also the stuff here with Pinhead and Kane, because Kane is revealed to be actually the Undertaker. That was going to be a lot more developed in season 5. Season 5 would have been, it would have started out with Travis's group going to war with Task Force X. Like, there would have been this huge fight, and what was going to happen was it was going to be like this battle that happens, and it looks like Travis's group is about to lose, and then Pinhead's group arrives and saves the day, kind of like a Deus Ex Machina. And then it's like, oh wow, Pinhead's good now. So that's what would have happened. It would have been Travis versus Task Force X, and then it looks like Task Force X is about to win at the end of the battle, and then all of a sudden Pinhead's group shows up and saves the day, and then Task Force X gets killed by them. All of them working together. And then it would have been Pinhead going to look for the Joker, like what happens here. You know, they split up or whatever. And Travis would have went out to, you know, a lot of the stuff that happens in the season would have happened in the original season 5, like the way it kind of does. Like Travis would have went out to find Smith, That whole episode, the black and white episode, would have happened the exact same way. That was always planned. Oh my god, are they getting louder? Jesus Christ. This is like, I almost want to like stop recording right now and just restart, but I don't want to. Oh my god, how long is this gonna take? They're so loud, it's not even funny. Okay, anyways, yeah, so originally in Season 5, it would have played out like that. So Travis would have still went out to find his brother. That whole episode would have went the same way it did. And then Kane would have been revealed, you know, to be Undertaker, and that would have been a much larger thing. He would have actually used the Necronomicon and summoned an army and fought Pinhead's group and stuff, and, you know. And then Deathstroke, that stuff wouldn't have came out until Season 6, maybe. Maybe the end of Season 5. So there was a lot of stuff I had to squeeze together into this final product here. And in the next episode, I'm sure some people probably didn't like the decision to have Task Force X get killed off-screen, you know, Pinhead get killed off-screen so suddenly like that. Well, you know, it kind of works for like a shock value kind of thing, where it's like, oh, Deadpool killed all of them, and, you know, you don't see it happen, and it's like, whoa, like, that's kind of a big shocker. I don't know, and he's just surrounded by this pile of dead bodies. I thought that was a cool, like, image to use. Wow, I think they finally stopped. Thank God. Anyways, hold on, let me put my phone down here. I think it's still record. I don't have to hold it the whole time. Okay. So anyways, yeah, a lot of this stuff would have still happened. Task Force X would have been killed by now, in a much lengthier battle. Anyways, yeah, so, I'm trying to think here, what happens next? Okay, so yeah, Deadpool, oh, so I want to talk about the Deadpool thing, right? The fact that he gets a story arc in this season. Now, the main characters, obviously, are Travis, Deadpool, Rick, the dude, you know, Jeffrey, but he's already gone. And I never really gave Deadpool an arc. I would have loved to give Jeffrey an arc, but the way the show played out, it didn't really work. But I thought it'd be cool to, like, really give Deadpool an arc, because, you know, he's always been the comedy relief, but he's never really had any, like, true character development, per se. So, I came up with this idea to have Deathstroke be his father. Now, if you guys are familiar with Deadpool and Deathstroke, you know, the characters from the comics or whatever, Deadpool was actually a parody of Deathstroke when the character was created. Because Deathstroke is a DC character, and his name is Slade Wilson. So Marvel went ahead and decided to make a parody of that, and make a character called Wade Wilson. Yeah, so I thought it'd be cool to have them connected in that way. It's funny to think about that Deathstroke actually came first, because Deadpool has 2 huge blockbuster successful movies and everything like that, and Deathstroke doesn't really have anything. I mean, he showed up in Justice League after the credits, but that's about it. And he came first, so that's kind of funny that the parody is actually more successful, per se. So I thought it'd be cool to have Deathstroke be his father, and, like, there's this crazy backstory where, like, he was burned alive, and Deathstroke tried to make him into a killer, but since Deadpool's, like, full of humor, and he's nice and everything, or nice per se, I guess, he didn't want to do that, but, you know, he kind of forced him to, and, you know, I came up with this idea that, Deathstroke could be, like, a super overpowered villain that, they have to fight, and Deadpool has to, like, overcome his, grievances with his father and all that stuff. So that was a cool thing I came up with. And oh, I love this here. The Bob Ross parody. I knew I'd have to stick in a sort of Bob Ross thing, because Funko went all out with the Bob Ross Pops last year, or the year before that, whatever it was. And I have all of them. So I was like, you know what, I gotta include something Bob Ross, because why not? And they made a Deadpool Bob Ross, which is amazing. So, yeah, I came up with this idea of, to fit into Deadpool's sort of story arc here, where Deadpool's like, you know, he's wholesome, he's making paintings, I guess, and he's trying to be very friendly here, but it turns out he's actually killing Task Force X and Pinhead's group while what's supposed to happen off screen here. It looks like Task Force X is about to fight Pinhead's group or whatever, with the Joker caught in the middle. But during this dream sequence here, Deathstroke actually shows up and causes something in Deadpool to, he hasn't seen his father in what is it, like 15 years or whatever it is? So, seeing Deathstroke again causes something in Deadpool to, like, lash out, right? What's happening right now, Deadpool is killing everybody. And I thought it'd be cool to have, in the dream sequence, he starts killing all the Bob Rosses when he's actually killing all the other people, you know what I mean? Jesus, they're making noise again. I thought they were done. Hold on a minute. Let me look out my window here. Yeah, they got the stupid leaf blower. Oh my god, this is annoying. Anyways, you know what it is? It's the it's landscapers or whatever. They're literally at the house next door, and they're leaf blowing, lawn mowing, weed whacking. They're doing everything. I don't know why it's taking so long. Anyways, yeah, so there's Deathstroke, and now I wanted to keep him like kind of a mystery. Like anyone who's familiar with Deathstroke will recognize, oh, that's Deathstroke, and they'll get it right away. But I kind of wanted to keep him a secret. Now here's the big reveal. Now you know what? When I pictured this in my head, before I obviously wrote it or filmed it, I imagined the pile of bodies to be much bigger. But this is still a big pile of bodies. But I just imagined it to be bigger. I don't know. I thought it'd be bigger, but it ended up not being too huge. But it's okay. Yeah, so some people will probably not like this decision right here, where they're all dead, like killed off screen. Pinhead is literally one of the major antagonists of the show, and he's killed off screen. You know what? I understand, but you gotta have a big shock reveal, and it turns out Deadpool single-handedly killed all those people. No, Deathstroke did not kill any of them. It was all Deadpool. The only thing Deathstroke did was set off this reaction here to make Deadpool kill them all, and he kidnapped the Joker. That's all he did. He didn't kill any of them. So yes, Deadpool did all that himself. And I was trying to illustrate, yes, Deadpool is a weapon. He was made to be a weapon. Anyways, because he's the clone of Old Man Logan, who I included in the prologue there. By the way, that was the first time any of these episodes had a prologue. The only other episode that has a prologue is the finale. So, 2 episodes this season, the first and the last, had prologues. I thought that'd be a cool thing to introduce. Where it matters, So, yeah, that was a cool prologue there with baby Deadpool saying fuck, which I took from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, if you've seen that. You know all about that. There's a baby in the movie that says fuck, and it's baby Jay. Anyways, yeah, I took inspiration from that, obviously. Yeah, so I thought it'd be cool to start and end the season with Deadpool, because the final shot is of Deadpool, and the beginning is baby Deadpool. So that was the whole idea of Deadpool's story arc. Pretty much, I mean, the arc technically ends in episode 47, where him and Deathstroke both die. But I wanted the whole thing to last over the whole season. Like, obviously, Deadpool gets resurrected at the end. So the final shot is of Deadpool. And, yeah. And, of course, there's always something with Travis going on because he's the main character. So, with Travis this season, obviously, you got the whole big episode with Smith, which I can't believe that episode was 33 minutes long. Like, oh my god. Like, I knew it was going to be long, when I was writing it. Like, I was writing and writing. By the way, the main reason why this season took so goddamn long was because of that episode. Because I literally had to figure out what was the thing that happened between Smith and Travis. Because in Season 4, I introduced this thing where, oh, Travis has a brother, something bad happened between them in the past, they kind of had a falling out, blah, blah, blah. And something has to happen to where Smith kills Travis without any remorse. Well, he kind of has remorse. and there's this link with the Undertaker. Like, I literally had to come up with like a whole reason why all these things happened. Like, I honestly didn't plan it out as much as you think. I didn't know there was going to be this thing with Joy. I didn't know there was going to be this thing with Vito Corleone, you know, from The Godfather. I literally had to plan that whole thing out for this episode. I did not know what the heck to do. It took forever to come up with what happened between them, and how Travis ended up working for Gustavo Fring, and how Smith ended up meeting The Undertaker. That took forever. So that's why this season took so long, was mainly because of that episode. And plus, this season, you know, it's the longest one, obviously. And it ends the show, too. Like, I had to come up with an ending for the entire series. I had to come up with all these different plot points. I had to come up with Deadpool's arc. I had to come up with how to cram like 3 or 4 storylines all together. Like, this season was so complex, it's not even funny. Maybe it doesn't seem complex when you're watching it, because obviously it's pretty straightforward. But creating this season was like very, very difficult. And yeah, I hope it delivered. You know, anyone watching this that watched all 50 episodes, I really hope this was a satisfactory conclusion. I think it was. I mean, I don't know. And, you know what? I'm going to say it right now. I actually, I don't know, maybe I should save this for the end. Yeah, who cares? I'll just say it now. There is a chance that I may do a follow-up thing. Now, it's not a guarantee. You guys are probably getting, like, excited. All 2 of you. There is a possibility I may do a follow-up something. I won't say. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, what I want this show, I want more people to discover this show and watch it, because I have been getting some comments saying, hey, just discovered the show, I watched all the episodes, wow, great job, you know, and I love those comments. I love that stuff. This show never had any real viewers, like, when I say real, I mean, like, a lot. The show never had a lot of viewers, any season. Even now, when I got, like, 7,000 something subscribers, I don't know what it is. Maybe people just aren't interested in it, whatever. You know, whatever the reason. You know, it's okay. I don't take any offense. But, that was also one of the factors that went into this. Because, like, you don't understand how much I appreciate the people that watch this. Like, I really, really appreciate it. But at the end of the day, you know, if there's nobody watching all this hard work, like, the amount of hours I put into this, it's not even, like, it's not even funny. Like, I couldn't tell you how many hours I put into this. Like, it's literally the Word document, okay? When I write out everything, you know, I write out the episodes like a script. Everything that happens, all the voices, or not voices, all the lines, I should say, all the dialogue. I don't know how many hours that took, but it's literally over 100 pages, the Word document for this season. It's like 100-something pages, full pages. I don't know if there's like a thing on there where I could look at total time spent, you know, editing or whatever. And then also the amount of hours to take the pictures, the amount of hours to edit, the amount of hours to do the voices, which honestly, the voiceover stuff is actually kind of easy once you find the time and space to do it. And there's no people making lawnmower noises outside your window. But the amount of hours that goes into everything, I couldn't tell you. And it's not worth it to do that much stuff just for a few people. I mean, to me it is. Obviously, I did it for a few people. But in the long run, if this show's going to go on forever and ever, like, you want some sort of return. And if no one's watching it, then it's not worth all the efforts, per se. Now, real quick, I want to talk about this opening here. Obviously, this episode it's pretty much a short film. I mean, it's 33 minutes. So I thought it'd be cool to include this sort of old-school, black and white feel intro. And if you notice the title there, it was like a really cool homage to, like, 1970s cinema, where, like, they'll have the title come up on screen, like, in big text. Quentin Tarantino does that a lot, by the way, if you look at his movies. Like, I was watching Jackie Brown the other day. Probably his best movie, to be honest. Underrated as well. It's definitely his most underrated movie. and there's when the title comes on screen, it's like in big letters. It's a big fancy font, and it shows, you know, copyrights, all rights reserved, Roman numerals for the year, you know, and then the obviously nothing's copyrighted here. Nothing's all rights reserved. TGM Films is not a real production company or anything like that. But I thought it'd be like a cool homage to like older movies, because older movies did that like back in the day, and Tarantino uses that a lot in his more recent movies. They'll have the title, he'll have his movie title pop up on screen like in a cool font, and then below it it'll say the copyright stuff. So that was a cool little thing I decided to do there, because you know the whole episode's in black and white pretty much, and yeah. And yeah, give credits and everything at the beginning. Just a stylistic thing. Obviously, the title Auf Wiedersehen is referencing what Travis and Smith say to each other. And I always had this in mind for ever since season 4. As I said already, this episode I didn't have every single detail in mind, but I basically knew it was going to be a black and white episode with tons of backstory. I was going to show Smith and The Undertaker meeting or whatever. I had to come up with how that happened. And then I knew also the ending of the episode. Travis and Smith were going to have a shootout, and both would end up getting shot. They both shoot each other. Smith would die, and Travis, we don't know if he's dead or not. You just see him lying there, and he's kind of... We don't know. The episode ends, and it's like, oh, did he die, you know? And I knew it would be called Auf Wiedersehen. I knew all those things, but I did not know the nooks and crannies of all this here with Corleone and Joy and all that stuff. I didn't know any of that, but I had to come up with it. And yeah, I gotta say it worked out pretty well. And as you can tell already, I used all the Blade Runner 2049 pops, except for Deckard, because I didn't have any character that would work with Deckard. But here we got Ryan Gosling's Officer K playing young Travis here. And then I have Joy, obviously, playing Joy. And then Sapper right there. And then I had Wallace and Love as the Weapon X people in episode 41 there. So I wanted to use a lot of newer pops I had. And obviously Joy and Officer K were, you know, lovers in the actual movie, even though she was an AI sort of thing. I love that movie, by the way. Anyways, so yeah, I ended up using a ton of different characters in this new season here. Oh, episode 42's title I didn't go over yet. That was called The Joy of Death. That was pretty straightforward also. Instead of The Joy of Painting, I just decided to put Joy of Death because, you know, Deadpool's pretty much a killer. Yeah, I wasn't sure what else to call it. I just kind of was like, you know what, The Joy of Death, that works. I don't have any other ideas for the title. I knew it had to do with Bob Ross, so that's what I came up with. Yeah. Anyways, what was I going on about? Oh yeah, so the amount of hours and stuff that went into this, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. I'm trying to, like, think. It's a lot, that's for sure. So yeah, to anyone that wanted more, there's a chance I could do some sort of follow-up. I've got a great idea. It's so good. Like, I really do think I'm going to do this, because doing this season, you know, every time I do a season on the show, especially with season 3, 4, and 5, because season 1 was really on a whim, you know, it just kind of happened sporadically, and I came up with a foundation for a show. Season 2, I trashed Season 2 so much because I rushed the hell out of Season 2. In my opinion, Season 2 is the worst. I don't know. I just, because, like, there's so many episodes, like, literally there's like, an episode that's, like, only a minute long. And then you look at today, I have an episode here that's 33 minutes long. It's like, what the hell was I thinking? I'm sure Season 2 is, like, you know, maybe for the few fans. A lot of people probably like Season 2. I don't. I rushed the hell out of Season 2. If I could go back and fix it, oh god, I would. It was just, you know what, I was like, oh my god, I made this first season, it was so good, let me make Season 2, and I just rushed the hell out of it. Like, oh my god. So I was like, I got smart with season 3, 4, and 5. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna plan these out much better, and I did. So, what was I saying? Yeah. Oh, okay. So with making season 5, I didn't. It was tedious, it was difficult, but at the end of the day, I was very happy with the final product here, and it was somewhat enjoyable to make. And I have a good feeling about making a follow up sort of thing. It won't be for a while though if it happens. Okay. I have the same sort of feeling of like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy making that as much as I enjoyed making this season. I still got the creative juices flowing somewhat from after doing all this. This took a couple months to make here. But the thing is, I don't want to guarantee anything. I want more people to discover it. If this show gets more popularity somewhat, because at the end of all my regular videos, I include a playlist on the end screen for this show, all 50 episodes. There's a playlist included at the end of every single one of my videos. So hopefully more people can watch the show. If this show gets more views, I may do a follow-up thing. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I have such a great idea for it. I love the idea I came up with. Like, it's I gotta have a good feeling about it. Like, I'm picturing it in my head as much. Like, I really pictured a lot of the stuff for this season in my head, and the final product ended up matching what I thought. And I really am picturing this follow-up idea quite a bit, and I think it'll work really well if I do it. It's not a season 6 or anything like that. Don't get excited. But it's a sort of let me just put it this way. A lot of my inspiration for this show comes from Breaking Bad, my favorite show of all time. I think it's possibly the best show of all time. There's no competition, in my opinion. I mean, I'm actually rewatching Game of Thrones right now because the final season's coming up next month. And Game of Thrones is a pretty close second, I think, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead as well, but The Walking Dead's kind of a mess. But Breaking Bad is like it's always going to be my favorite show, no matter what. I think there's really no competition in my opinion, and it's just masterwork. It's a masterpiece. If you've never watched it, please watch it. But I was going to say Breaking Bad is such an influence on the show in many ways, and I'll get to that later. There's some things I pulled from that. Now, if you watch Breaking Bad, you obviously are aware there's a spin-off show called Better Call Saul. And my idea for a follow-up to this would kind of take elements from Better Call Saul in terms of, like, when the show takes place. You follow me? The several times the show takes place. You get what I'm saying? If you guys are familiar with it, you'll know what I mean right away. So, yes, follow-up and, Anyways, I'm just going to leave it at that. I have such a great idea. For what a follow-up could be to this, and it would be really, really cool. But I'm not going to promise. Like, I'm talking about it a lot, but it's not a guarantee. So if this show does get more views and stuff like that down the line, more people discover it, there's a strong possibility I'll do a follow-up, but it won't be for a while. Okay, anyways, enough getting people excited. All 2 of you. Yeah, so, you know what? This was the parts of the commentary that was glitching. Because this scene here goes on for such a long time with Travis and Joy here. And I noticed, like, I was looking at the screen. I'm like, this scene is still going on? For some reason, Windows Movie Maker decided to glitch, and this scene kept playing. Like, it just showed these 2 pictures back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for like an hour. I was like, I know this is a long scene, but what the heck? And then I looked at the timer, and it said I was like about an hour in. I'm like, wait, shouldn't I be past the scene by now? So I don't know what happened, but it was right here at this scene. I noticed something was wrong. Windows Movie Maker sucks. I'm sorry. I love it to death because that's what I use, but it's so bad. I even say in the end credits of this of the finale, special thanks to Windows Movie Maker, the absolute shittiest software of all time. Oh, okay, the scene ended. Okay, so now everything's working this time around. yeah, so Vito Corleone here, if you've ever seen The Godfather, which I hope, fantastic movie, obviously. Part 2 is even better. I decided to include him as like the sort of mafia. Obviously, he's a mobster, but I thought it'd be cool if he was like Travis's boss, and and also I wanted to tie together, because in this season there's 2 big flashback episodes. It's this one and episode 46, Different Strokes, Different Pools. I wanted to tie together Deadpool's flashbacks and Travis's flashbacks without them ever meeting each other, obviously, because they never met before. But the link between them was Vito Corleone here. It turns out Smith and Travis worked for Vito Corleone, and also Deadpool's father worked for Vito Corleone. So it was this cool link between the two. And I had to figure out, okay, when do these scenes take place, and when do Deadpool's flashback scenes take place? And I thought it'd be easier to have Deadpool's scenes take place way in the past, because obviously he's younger. He's only 15 during that. And then these scenes take place 9 years before. Because 10 years before is when Wolverine was turned into Weapon X, it said. So, yeah, I had to figure out a whole timeline just for the backstory stuff, which was complicated as well. So yeah. And then Travis ends up killing Corleone, and all this stuff happens here. And I actually do think, even though these are toys, there's a lot of emotion in the ending of this episode when Travis and Smith finally confront each other, and then it's emotionally heavy. I mean, I doubt I got anybody to cry, but you know what? I think I did a pretty good job, if I say so myself here. Yeah. But like I said, this episode took forever. I mean, Jesus Christ. I think it was June I made that video. Was it June of 2018 where I was like, okay, I'm going to start Season 5, and, I'll have it done by the end of 2018. That's a promise. And you know what? I didn't deliver. I did manage to have the season start in January, which is pretty close to 2018. Excuse me. Pretty close to 2018. What happens with me, I'm such a procrastinator, but also, it just took a long time to, just to do an outline for every episode, because what I do, before I write the episodes, I do an outline of, what's going to happen in every episode, right? So, just doing the outline alone took a long time, because I wasn't sure what to do. Like I said, I had to cram together, 4 big storylines, 3 or 4 big ones. I don't know how many there are in total. You got the Travis and Smith storyline. You got the Deadpool storyline. You got the Thanos thing at the end, which was kind of a last minute, still riding off the coattails of Infinity War kind of thing. And then also all the backstory stuff tying into the... it was just a complicated season. But I also procrastinated. So I actually didn't start fully writing until November, I think it was. October, November. And that was mainly because I procrastinated, I'm not going to lie. And also, I have school and work, obviously. But, I really did want to have this done by the end of 2018. I wanted that to work. I was like, you know what? It's 10 episodes. The latest I should have... episode 1 premiere is December, 21st? So that way the last 10 years of 2018, or no, I thought I should have it premiere at least by December 31st, so that way you guys can see it in 2018. I wasn't able to deliver. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I worked very hard on this in December. I was like, you know what, let me try to have this done. I didn't want to half-ass it, though. That's the thing. I didn't want to have to rush it like I did with Season 2. So, by the end of November, I think I had all the episodes fully written. And I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the whole month of December filming, editing, and, doing the voices and all that stuff. And, Jesus Christ, it took so long. I mean, oh my God. It was to the point that, literally on December 24th, Christmas Eve. When I had time to do this, I spent time to do this. But, it wasn't always Like, I could do this whenever I wanted to. Like, I had to find time in certain days to where I could do this, work on taking pictures and stuff like that. It was to the point in December where I was working so much on the show that literally on December 24th at night, literally till midnight, so technically on Christmas, I was up taking pictures. Literally, right over here on this this shelf here, my DVD shelf, I remember. It was Christmas Eve, and I was taking pictures, and to the point of, it was around midnight, and I was still taking pictures. And it was Christmas, technically. So, you know what? Nobody watches the show, but if you have, if you have something in your mind and you want to see it fully made, like you have a creative idea and you want to put it out there and you picture it in your head every single day and how you want it to play out, and you think to yourself, I might have gone too I might have made this too complex, it's not going to work, it's going to take forever to edit, do I really want to do this, and there's nobody watching, just do it anyways, because the feeling of having this done, it's like nothing else. Like, when I was watching, like, when the show finally ended, like, when I finished editing episode 50 and I watched it, and the end credits played, like, I made everything, obviously, but watching the credits play out with the music and the black and white pictures in the credits, I really can't explain the feeling. Like, it was more than like having a weight lifted off your shoulders. It was like this crazy feeling of like, wow, I did something. Like, I accomplished a goal, sort of, in a way. Like, I got to make something out of my mind that I can share with other people, and people appreciate it, the few that there are. But maybe one day there will be more. You never know. It could become like a sort of cult hit, cult movie, like a cult movie, Yeah, it's just it's like it's sort of like paying your dues in a way. Like, if I ever become famous one day, I'll look at this as like me paying my dues. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to pay their dues in some sort of way. Whether it's with, finding a good career, going to school, college or whatever, anything. Like, there's always going to be hard work. There's always going to be moments of like, do I do this or not? Like, do I really want to, like, is it worth it? And you know what? Whether or not more people watch this or not, I think this was worth it. All the work I put into this, because just being creative, it's like my favorite. Like, being able to create something it's like my favorite thing ever. Like, I love creativity. Like, that's my thing. Like, I'm an artsy person. I love movies. I love music. I love all that stuff. And being somewhat, even though this isn't like a real TV show or anything like that, being able to like do anything sort of like that is amazing. And the feeling of having something done, 50 full episodes, it's really cool. But like, I remember like on Christmas Eve when I was working on this, hours on end, I was literally just sitting there like, I was just like, am I really doing this right now? Am I really doing this for like the 10 people that watch the show? Like, I don't know. It was just, it was like a real moment of like, is this really worth it? And a lot of it too was, I had those thoughts a lot too when I was writing, because the writing took so long. That was honestly the longest part of this, was the writing, the whole season. I would literally spend hours and hours writing of free time, and I don't get much free time anymore because I work 40 hours a week. I go to school, not full time, but school takes up a lot of time. And I don't know. Yeah, it was just very, very difficult thing for me. But I really do love what I did here, and I'm very proud of it. And yeah, if anyone's listening to this and you want to make something, just make it. Like, don't worry about like, oh, only 5 people watched it, I'm done, never make it again. You never know what could happen in the future, okay? Somebody could discover it, the right person could discover it and show it to people, and you never know. So that's what I want. If anyone's going to take anything away from this commentary right now, this stupid thing I'm doing where I'm rambling for God knows how long, just do it. Like, literally, not to quote Shia LaBeouf, but if you want to make something, and you're on YouTube, you have an account, just make it. Like, who cares? Yeah. I don't know. Me, I'm lucky enough to have some loyal fans, you know. Aaron, you're listening to this probably. You already know. I mentioned you all the time in the credits for every season. The people who watch this know who you are. I'm lucky enough to have somebody that watches this and enjoys it thoroughly. And if I can get more people to do that, then that's perfect. That's what I want. And, yeah, just, I don't know. Just go out, like, just don't worry about, you know, right now. Think about, like, what it will do for you in the future. Like, it'll give you some sort of experience, you know, of, like, making something. Like, if you want to make something bigger one day, like, you'll have that experience of, like, this smaller thing. I don't know. Like, me personally, doing this show, with each season, I figured out how to do it much better. In my opinion, every season gets better. I mean, with the exception of Season 2. It could have been better if I spent more time on it. But I think Season 5 here is easily the best season. Yeah. But anyways. Yeah. All I'm trying to say is a lot of sacrifice went into this, and it was worth it. So, anyways, we're nearing the end here of episode 33, and this is the big episode here. And by the way, I don't know if I have, like, a favorite episode. I'm sure some of you might ask me that, like, oh, out of all 50, which one's your favorite? Which is the best one? I really don't know. If you guys are listening to this right now, I want you to tell me what your favorite episode was. Now, I did go back and watch all of them, and I gotta say, I love episode 49. Or not 49, 39 from Season 4. Logan's Rum. That episode is so funny. Like, I can't believe I made something that hilarious. Like, it's literally, like, laugh out loud funny. Like, I wish I could have kept Jack Sparrow around longer when I just the way the show played out, though. He only lasted 2 episodes, but that's not my favorite. I'm not trying to say that's my favorite, but that one in particular sticks out to me because I literally made something that is laugh out loud funny. Yeah, I'm sure some people might say that one. That's why I bring it up. But I want to give a shout out to episode 39. I think it's hilarious. Logan's Rum. But, like, the best episode, you know, I would say that one was the funniest. I would definitely say episode 34 is the darkest. You know, Death Themselves with Task Force X killing everybody. That is easily the darkest episode. But the best, I really don't know. It would definitely have to be from Season 3, 4, or 5, in my opinion, because those are much, much better in quality, in my opinion, than the first 2 seasons. I don't know. Maybe it's from this season. Maybe it's the finale. You know what? I don't know. Maybe it's this episode. You know, this one might be the best. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard for me to decide, but I'd like to know what you guys... Maybe you can give me, like, a top 5 favorites, whatever. That'd be cool. But, yeah, this season was definitely the best one, easily. At least I think. And then here we go with Smith running into 11. Now, I really didn't have any other way to have Smith, meet the Undertaker, except for he was sent to Purgatory, I guess you could say, the Upside Down, 11 from Stranger Things. And Aaron, I mentioned you already, you don't like Stranger Things, which is funny to me. And I didn't do this on purpose just because you don't like it. Like, I know you don't like it. Trust me, I wouldn't have included 11 here. I know you are the biggest fan, so you have some sort of influence on the show. But I really had no other choice. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was the most logical thing. Have 11 send him upside down, sort of. He didn't technically die, but he's in purgatory, so that's what happened. Yeah. And by the way, 11's the only other on-screen character. No, the only on-screen character that never dies. You notice that? Everyone on this show dies at some point. But 11 didn't die. So where is she? I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. But I had to stick her in there so she could do that. Yeah, that's pretty funny if you think about it. Like, literally everyone on this show dies at some point. And some people come back to life, some people don't. Deadpool obviously dies twice. Joy dies. Because Deadpool and Joy are really the two big survivors. Like, they're the only two real survivors of the show. Joy gets killed in this episode, but she's later saved by Travis with time travel and whatnot. And, yeah, that's kind of weird. 11's the only one that doesn't die. I mean, she's a very minor character, so whatever. But anyways, yeah, so that's why I had to stick 11 in there. It's because I didn't have any other... I couldn't come up with anything else. That's the only reason. So, sorry, Aaron. I know you don't like Stranger Things. And I'm sure you don't appreciate seeing 11 on your favorite show here. But, yeah. I, for one, love Stranger Things. I can't wait for Season 3. Anyways, and I gotta explain that, too. The whole Joy thing coming back to life. Now, back in Season 3, I knew I had this thing where Slimer takes the time machine, right, and then we don't know where he went, and he brings it back, obviously. Now, I knew I'd use that for something, as a sort of, like, I knew I'd use it in the future for something. Like, I didn't know what, but I was like, I gotta use it again, for whatever reason. Excuse me. So, when I was making the season, I was like, okay, I gotta tie up every single loose end, right? And I was like, oh yeah, Slimer took the time machine somewhere. I gotta figure out what to do with that. So I came up with this idea that Travis would find Slimer with the time machine and he would use it to save Joy. And it's a lot more complicated than that, me coming up with that. But that's basically what happened. I was like, oh, he can use it to save Joy, and he's got motivation now. You know what I mean? Like, he literally has a line later, you could be the motivation I've never had to make it out of here alive, or whatever. Out of this situation with Deathstroke and Thanos and everything. So, that was a cool thing. And plus, I wanted to give Travis a love interest. I guess she's a love interest, whatever. He's like, she's not my girlfriend. But she is the love interest in a way. So, yeah, I wanted to give Travis more depth, I guess you could say. Or depth. I can't say depth. D-E-P-T-H, depth. Depth. I can't say it. Give Travis more depth. Yeah, I guess I said it. Whatever. To me, it sounds weird. Anyways, now I gotta explain something, too. If you guys are very familiar with the show, I established in Season 4 that the bodies disappear after you die. That's because they get sent to the Undertaker. Now, it's kind of like a plot hole when I came up with this. I was like, oh no, I can't do this because Joy's body would have disappeared after she died. Now, it's not a plot hole technically. Now, here's the thing. I never really established this, but after Undertaker's defeated in Season 4 and Hell closes itself off, everyone's dead body returned to where they were. Like, all the dead bodies, like, if they were buried somewhere, they returned to where they were. That was what I was trying to establish with that. I never really did establish it, though. So that's why I'm saying it here. So Joy's body actually reappeared in her grave, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, anyways. And then you're probably wondering, wait, where was Joy when Travis went to hell? Like, wouldn't she been there? No, I also established that once hell gets too full, you vanish. So that's what happened. Joy must have been with a batch of other people that died around that time period, and it got too full, and they all started to vanish. So, yeah, that's why she wasn't there. Pretty obvious, I think. I don't know, maybe it's too complicated. But I knew that was kind of like a plot hole thing, where Joy's body shouldn't have been there. But I guess I came up with a reason why it was. Yeah. So, anyways, and also, you're probably wondering, well, if he travels back in time with her dead body, shouldn't her dead body not exist anymore or whatever? Well, that's the thing with time travel in movies. It doesn't really work out that way. Because in Terminator, for example, he's sent back to kill Sarah Connor. Now, if he kills Sarah Connor, wouldn't that negate him ever going into the past in the first place? So it's like, you know, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, I know it obviously doesn't make sense, but it's not. Time travel is weird like that in movies. Yeah, so Joy's body would still be there in terms of this ideology. Jesus, I can't speak today. Great choice to do a commentary on a day I can't speak. Alright, so now we're into episode 44, Exodus. Now, I wanted to have a cool single-word title for this episode. And what's cooler than the word Exodus? That's such a cool word, isn't it? So basically, I wanted to have... I knew this episode would be, like, shocking. In my opinion, the Joker getting killed is the most shocking moment of the whole show, probably. Mainly because Joker is established to be, like, this unkillable, undefeatable sort of character. Even though he does get defeated in Season 3. But up until this point, we've never seen the Joker die. Like, he's never been killed. He's never been, yeah, he's never died or anything like that. So, he's in a way sort of invincible, you know what I mean? And to see Deadpool kill him after the reveal of, you know, kill him now, my son, I personally think that's, like, super shocking. So, did you guys have the same, reaction at the end of this episode? I'd like to know. So I knew this episode was going to be big. Now, I think this episode has the single biggest body count of any episode. Now, episode 42 doesn't count because all those people were killed off screen, so that doesn't count. Yeah, I think this episode has the biggest body count. So I knew it was going to be crazy, and it was going to have a crazy ending. So I wanted to give this episode a cool one-word title. And Exodus came to mind. And the word Exodus, if you look it up, it means a mass departure of people. So that kind of fits with this episode, because a lot of people die. And, yeah. It kind of worked itself out like that. I don't know, I always thought Exodus was a cool word, so. Yeah, so here we got, by the way, the stuff with the Necronomicon here, it's all, it's either red herring or MacGuffin. I think red herring is the right term. Something that's established to be like, oh, this is going to be a big thing. This is going to be a big thing, and it turns out not to be a big thing. Yeah, I think it's red herring. It's a red herring. MacGuffin is something else. Or maybe it's the same thing. I don't even know. It's either a red herring or MacGuffin. But I keep talking about the Necronomicon here. It's like, oh, this is going to be a big thing. It's going to summon a lot of evil people, and there's going to be a huge battle or something. No. All I used it for was to establish how strong Deathstroke is, because they summon a whole bunch of evil people here, and Deathstroke goes through them in literally like 2 seconds flat. Yeah. Now, like I said, originally in this season, the Necronomicon would have had a bigger role, but since I had to condense things, it didn't, and it ended up getting destroyed here in this episode. But I wanted to throw people off by having them talk about it a lot, so that's why that happened that way. And plus I wanted to give Ash and, you know, Ruby and Pablo and Kelly from Ash vs. Evil Dead, great TV show by the way, sadly got canceled. I wanted to give them more sort of development, because I love those characters, and they never really had any development. We've got a special book here that can summon in. Okay, sorry about that. Geez, yet another problem with Windows Movie Maker. So apparently narration can only go 1 hour. Now, on the other season commentaries I did, I don't recall that being a rule ever. But okay, supposedly I can only record for an hour at a time. So this is the second track here playing. Jesus Christ, I thought something happened again. Because a message popped up on my screen saying, "You've reached the maximum recording length," or whatever. Anyways, what I was trying to say was, the characters from Ash vs. Evil Dead, I love that show, and I love the Evil Dead movies, so I wanted to give them more development, I guess you could say. And here we go with the big throw-off here. Look at all these people. We got Norman Bates, we got Jack Torrance, we got two Pennywises, we got Elvira, Reagan from Exorcist, we got Freddy Krueger, we got Billy the Puppet from Saw, Michael Myers, Carrie, Leatherface, and they all get killed. Now, I wanted to include all those pops because I'm a huge horror fan, and I thought it would have been cool to have a huge visual image of all these horror icons all together. Anyways, yeah, Deathstroke is unstoppable, man. Like, Jesus Christ. I wanted to make him the most overpowered villain ever. This episode, by the way, it's meant to, like, reflect what happened at episode 34. This one's episode 44, so it's a whole season later. But this is, like, episode 34 on crack. Like, literally. It's like the episode where Task Force X kills everybody. But this time, it's Deathstroke single-handedly killing... I don't even know how many people here. Like... yeah, it's episode 34 on crack, pretty much. And it's meant to establish, you know, Deathstroke is no joke, okay? That kind of rhymed, by the way. Yeah, so here we go. This is the big shocker. And by the way, this is, you know, in terms of, like, how the story goes, this is the only moment where I can have Joker and Harley Quinn appear in their animated series costumes together. This is just the way it played out. I wish I could have included this more, but, yeah. I love the animated series, Batman the Animated Series, so I figured it'd be cool to have those versions of the characters appear this season, just to change things up, you know. Yeah, Harley's wearing her classic costume here for the only time in this whole season. Yeah, so here we go, the big reveal, big shocking moment. Deadpool is Deathstroke's son, and Deadpool guns the Joker down like he's nothing, and the biggest villain is killed. So, yeah. Pretty shocking moment. If I do say so myself. Here we go.
What?
Joker's last word. Son. And that's it. Joker's dead.
No!
Harley screams in terror. And he says, "Kill Harley too," but Wolverine saves the day. And then Harley exacts her revenge later on. Yeah, just a crazy thing here. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. And by the way, I gotta point this out. If anyone's ever noticed this, the only character to appear in all 50 episodes is Travis. That's why I had to include this end scene here of Travis lying on the ground, and then you see Slimer, slightly. Yeah, Travis appears in all 50 episodes. That's another tribute to Breaking Bad. The main character appears in every episode. Well, Walt and Jesse appeared in every episode, but I wanted to really... because this is his show. He's got to appear in all the episodes. That's just the way I had it in mind. Now, you're probably going to go back and look at all the episodes and be like, well, actually, Travis didn't appear in the Season 2 finale. You know, the episode where Deadpool's in heaven or whatever. No, actually, he did. If you watch the after-credits scene, Travis is there. So, yes, he's appeared in every single episode. I already knew people were going to bring that up. And I knew way back then, in Season 2, I'm going to have Travis appear in every episode. So, I'm going to have an end credit scene with Travis for Season 2. Yeah, I was thinking of that back then. So, I just thought I'd point that out. Anyways, So episode 45 here is called Grave Mistakes. That's another pretty straightforward title. Hold on a minute. I gotta hydrate. Talking for a long time. So yeah, grave mistakes. Obviously, the biggest mistake he ever made, he says, is letting Joy die. Well, it's not really his fault. Well, it is, I guess. But and then she's in a grave. So grave mistakes. Pretty obvious. And here we go. We got Slimer showing up here with the time machine. So yeah, I wasn't sure exactly back then what Slimer would have did with that, but I established, okay, he had to have gone into the future, because if he went into the past, he would have changed something drastically, and then things would have gotten erased. So yeah, I knew it was some point in the future that Slimer took the time machine to. And I came up with this idea here, like I said, that he came to this point, and Travis is going to utilize the time machine. Now, also in this episode, I introduced the bandage that Travis wears for the rest of the season. Now, I also intentionally did that to establish Smith really did wound Travis big time. He shot him right in the gut, so it's a very painful thing, and he's got to wear a bandage, because we've never seen a character wear a bandage before on the show. And in episode 50, the finale, when Thanos kills Travis, you know, he makes himself look like Smith and shoots him in the exact same spot. I did the bandage thing to show blood. Now, there's never been, I should really talk about this in episode 50, but I'm going to talk about it right now. We've never seen one of these characters bleed before, because these are obviously toys. They don't bleed or anything like that. And plus, I don't want to use fake blood or anything. I don't want to stain any of them, because I do collect these things. I don't want to ruin them. But I thought a cool way to have a visual, you know, Travis dying, like a big shocking moment, I wanted to show him bleeding. Now, he's the only character you ever see bleed on the show. And I thought it'd be cool to have a bandage where I could literally just put blood on the bandage. Not real blood, obviously. I used like a marker or whatever. So I introduced the bandage here after Travis gets shot. And I knew that when he dies, you're going to see the blood filling up the bandage because he gets shot in the exact same spot again. So yeah, that's why I included the bandage here. I thought it'd be a cool thing to use. So anyways, here we are back in episode 33 again. And here's Joy in color. And by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed this, I have a brand new Blu-ray shelf. My old Blu-ray shelf, I still have it, but I took it apart, was not big enough to hold all my movies because I have so many. So here is a brand new Blu-ray shelf. And now what I did, obviously the location here is meant to look like, oh, this is a new location we've never been to, where Joy's grave is. But in actuality, it's where my Blu-ray shelf was with all the movies. What I did was, these are the bottom 3 shelves here. I took all the movies out to make it look like a brand new location. And then when you go to the wide shot later on, with Travis and Joy and Slimer standing on my bed or whatever, you can see the Blu-ray shelf, which is where they were, right here. But all I did was I put the movies back, so it looks like a different spot. So, like, look, right here, right there, where it says Star Wars, right behind Joy, that is where we just were. But all I did was I put the movies back. See right there behind her? You can see the Tarantino box set, you can see Superbad. Yeah. So all I did was I put all the movies back, and it looks like a different spot. In actuality, that's where they just were. So that's pretty funny. It's just some, I guess you call it set redressing or whatever. So yeah, it's the time machine right there. So Joy's alive again. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do, that I came up with. Alright, what else can I say about this episode? Not much. This is kind of a shorter one. Yeah, okay. And then I also started planting seeds for the Emmett thing. Now, I didn't really establish this much either, but, yeah, it is a logical thing. Why wouldn't Emmett have gone back to save Joy? Obviously he wanted to save Jeffrey's life, but why didn't he go back to save Joy? Now, in Season 2, I established, oh, Emmett also has the guilt of Rick dying because him and Rick built the time machine. Now, I came up with this crazy convoluted thing of, oh, Emmett didn't make time travel. He used the time stone from Thanos. But it turns out Emmett actually is the one responsible for Rick's death. He actually staged Pinhead, not the real Pinhead, but Thanos killing Rick. So now he has extra guilt about Rick getting killed. So, in a way, he completely forgets about Joy wanting to save her. He doesn't completely forget about her, I'm sure, but the guilt of killing Rick to get the time stone is like too heavy for him. So that's why he just goes back to save Jeffrey and Rick. Mainly it's for Rick, but it's never said, right? That's what I tried to establish at the end of the season here with the twist that Emmett actually let Rick die, and him and Thanos staged it, and yeah, it's just a horrible thing. So in a way, Emmett is sort of a bad guy. Yeah, so that's why, and I have them talk about it here because it is a logical thing. Like, hey, why didn't he go back to save me too? You know? Yeah. So the Thanos thing, you know what? I might as well start talking about it. Episode 47 is the end of the Deadpool arc, sort of. So the last 3 episodes, I was like, what am I going to do? How do I end the show? What do I do for 3 more episodes? Literally, I was at a point like, okay, Deathstroke is dead now, what do I do? And I didn't know. Now, obviously, the hottest movie right now, the hottest villain right now, not in terms of like, not like sexually, but the hottest right now is Thanos. Everyone knows Thanos. He's the biggest villain right now in movies. Excuse me. I don't know. The first thing that came to mind in terms of like, what do I do? You know, a last-minute villain, sort of. Not last minute, but, you know, a final villain, I guess you could say, was Thanos. And, you know what? The way Infinity War played out, Josh Brolin's performance, it was all awesome. And I was very inspired by Infinity War. So, in a way, I'm kind of glad this season took a little longer because I knew all the stuff that happened in Infinity War at this point. You know, the stuff with the Soul Stone and everything like that and sacrificing. So, I decided to incorporate that into this show for the last 3 episodes. So I literally had to come up with another backstory thing of like, okay, you know what? There's actually something you didn't see when Emmett and Travis were building the, Emmett and Rick were building the time machine. There was a hidden scene, sort of, where Thanos actually disguised himself as Pinhead, and he was the one who killed Rick. And they did that in order to get the Soul Stone, and then Thanos was going to let Emmett use the Time Stone because they didn't invent time travel. And that's another thing I wanted to establish. Emmett and Rick, they could not invent time travel. How would those 2 guys do that? I mean, come on. They're not scientists, okay? So, yeah, it turns out they took the Time Stone. Or should I say Emmett took the Time Stone from Thanos' dead body and put it into the time machine, and that's how they got the time travel. They used it. So inside the time machine is the Time Stone. They didn't come up with time travel. So yeah, I thought that'd be a cool twist. And to have Thanos be the final villain was pretty cool too. Because he can do so much, you know. He has all these powers and whatnot, and he's got complex ideas. He wants to kill half of all life. And I thought it'd be cool to have him, you know, trick Emmett saying, oh, I'm actually gonna double resources and everything. No, I'm actually gonna kill half of all life, and you're gonna help me. So, yeah. That's how I thought of all that. And to have Thanos turn himself into Smith and kill Travis, when I came up with that, I was like, yo. That is literally so perfect. What I was actually... No, originally, for episode 50, what was going to happen was Wolverine sacrificed himself to bring back Deadpool, right? Now, originally, Wolverine's body was still going to be there. It wasn't going to disappear. So what I was going to have happen was Thanos would have threw Wolverine at Travis, and his claw would have stabbed Travis right in the wound and killed him. That's what I would have used. I would have used Wolverine's adamantium claws, and Thanos was going to throw Wolverine's dead body at Travis, and the claws would have pierced Travis right in the wound and killed him. That's the original death Travis was going to have. But instead, I had it to where Wolverine actually disappeared, and Thanos made himself look like Smith and shoot Travis in the exact same spot. So technically, Smith kills Travis in a way. But no, it's really Thanos, obviously. And that actually ties back into where he had Pinhead, or Thanos disguised himself as Pinhead. So literally, Travis is paying for Emmett's mistakes in the same exact way that he let Rick die. So it ties back together perfectly. And when I came up with that, I was like, yo, that was, oh my god, I love that I came up with that idea. But originally, yeah, I was just going to have it to where he gets stabbed by Wolverine's claw, and that's how he dies. Just so you can tie the two stories together with Wolverine and Deadpool's story and Travis and Smith's story. You can tie them together by having Wolverine's adamantium kill him. But no, I thought it'd be cooler to have, you know, Thanos appear as Smith and shoot him in this exact same spot, and he starts bleeding profusely, and it just worked out perfectly, in my opinion. And he says Auf Wiedersehen, too. You know? Yeah, I love that I came up with that. So, now here we are in episode 46. This one is called Different Strokes, Different Pools. Now, some of you may be familiar with Different Strokes. It's an old TV show. So what I wanted to do for this title, I knew it had to include something with Deathstroke and Deadpool. Originally, I was going to call it Meet the Wilsons, you know, in reference to Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, you know, those movies. I love those movies, by the way. Meet the Wilsons was a pretty logical title for me, because they're both the Wilsons, obviously. It's their last name. Excuse me. So, but I was like, you know what, I want to make it a little more complex than that. I want to have a longer title, because most of these titles are pretty short. So I thought it'd be cool to have like a longer title with like a comma or something in it. And Deathstroke literally made me think of the TV show, Different Strokes. So it came to mind, oh yeah, Different Strokes. I can do that as like a reference, a pop culture reference in one of these titles. So I called it Different Strokes, comma, Different Pools, because, you know, Deathstroke, Deadpool. So yeah, pretty straightforward also, I think, this title. I just wanted to have a longer title for one of the episodes, with like a comma and, you know, apostrophe in it. I don't know. Yeah. Because like I said, most of these titles are pretty short. Anyways, yeah, I came up with this whole idea here where Deadpool dresses up like Ferris Bueller. So that way you can actually see Deadpool without his costume on for once. Yeah. And since Ferris Bueller breaks the fourth wall too, I can include a joke about, hey, I just discovered my new power of breaking the fourth wall. And also here, I wanted to give Deathstroke some sort of, here's the thing with, I didn't want to make him a one-dimensional villain, okay? I wanted to have him have some sort of, you can sympathize with him in a way, because here he's actually trying to be a good father to his son here. Well, he's not really his son, he's adopted or whatever. But he did try originally to be, obviously in the beginning, he's beating up a baby, which is messed up. But here you can see he's like, he feels bad about it. He's like, you know what, you aren't this person, you're not evil, you know what, I was wrong to hit you, all this stuff, I want you to be a good son. And he tells Corleone, no, he's not going to work for you, blah, blah, blah. And, you know what, I didn't want to make Deathstroke one-dimensional, so I gave him some sort of, redeemable qualities. But here it turns out, after Deadpool doesn't want to work with him anymore, he's like, you know, he burns him alive and stuff. And, you know, it's complex. I wanted to give this layers, so. Oh, and by the way here, this is obviously Wolverine before the Weapon X operation. And I wanted him and Deadpool to meet each other, but obviously Deadpool didn't meet him until after the operation. So in this scene, Deadpool had to be sleeping. I wanted them to meet beforehand, before they were both enhanced per se. But I didn't know how to do it. But I was like, you know what, I could have this scene here, it's nighttime, Deadpool's sleeping, and Wolverine comes over to meet him, and yeah. It was just a complex thing. Literally, I had to make like a timeline for like all these different events here, and how they intersect and stuff. So yeah, in a way, Wolverine is responsible for this here, because he tells him, you know what, you can't go easy, you can't be soft on your son, you got to go hard on him. And by God, does Deathstroke take that to heart? I mean, Jesus Christ, he burns Deadpool alive. Obviously, I took that from the actual comic where Deadpool is literally looks like Freddy Krueger. So I thought it'd be a cool thing to have him like set him on fire, and he has to wear the costume for the rest of his life, and that's why you never see Deadpool out of the costume, because he's been burned alive. And scars don't heal too, because Deadpool can heal. You know, that's why he doesn't die from the fire, but he is permanently scarred. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, the way it all worked out, like I said, I love the way this all tied together. Yeah. So here he is, still dressed as Ferris Bueller. Pretty funny. So yeah. Oh, I gotta point out too, if you go back and listen to my Season 4 commentary, I pointed out that at the end of Season 4, when Deadpool, Travis, and Rick are all resurrected, they go through those portals. You know, the Undertaker opens up 3 portals, and they can use them to be resurrected. I purposely used the colors on those portals to reflect what's going to happen to each character. Because Deadpool goes through a portal that's orange and blue, and I knew ahead of time I was going to have Deathstroke be a villain that's related to Deadpool. So that's why I had Deadpool go through a portal that was orange and blue, and here we are. Deathstroke wears orange and blue. And then I had Rick go through a portal that was yellow and purple, and those are Thanos' color. And I had Thanos kill Rick at the end of this season. Now, I originally didn't know if I was going to have Thanos or not show up, but I did have that in mind when I was making Season 4. I was like, you know what, at some point I might have Thanos show up because Infinity War is coming out and blah blah blah. And maybe he'll have something to do with Rick. So I decided to have Rick go through the yellow and purple portal. And then Travis goes through the green and red portal. And at the end of this season, you see blood on Travis. And his primary color he wears is green. So that's what that is, green and red. So there's actually a really cool tie-in with the end of Season 4. It actually worked out really well. Because like when I had them go through those portals, I purposely had them go through, you know, those particular colors for each character. And it ended up working out perfectly. So yeah, that's a really cool thing I'm proud of. And here we go. I love that I included the fire, because what I did to achieve that, I obviously took the pictures, you know, in the darker lighting, or whatever. Like I turned my lights off and took the pictures with the darker lighting. But what I did was I put a piece of tape on my iPhone and I colored orange. Like I took an orange marker. You know, people know how to do this, right? If you want to light up a room with a certain color, all you do is you put a piece of tape over your flashlight on your iPhone, and you color over the piece of tape, whatever color. So what I did was I put orange and red together and put it over, you know, on a piece of tape, and put it over my iPhone flashlight, and then I lit up the scene like that. That's how I achieved that orange lighting. And I thought that'd be a cool visual thing, showing Deadpool on fire like that. Obviously, I couldn't put a real fire there. It's stop motion, and God knows I don't want to set my room on fire, so... yeah. You can't stop motion a real fire, and it's kind of weird. So yeah, none of this stuff is filmed. It's all pictures, okay? I don't want to include any weird actual footage. It would look so out of place. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, Deadpool disappears. So what Deathstroke does, you know, for the next 15 years, he searches the world for his son. And that's why he never comes back here, because this is the last place you'd expect Deadpool to be. So that's why he was gone all this time. So yeah, I had to come up with the reason why Deathstroke is only appearing now, and where was he this whole time. So yeah, Deadpool decided to come back here. Just because it's his home, I guess. Even though something traumatic happened to him, he just decided to stay here. So, oh yeah, and I love how this turned out. The giant pile of bodies. You got Task Force X, you got all of Pinhead's group, you got all the dead bodies from the Necronomicon, and then right on top you got the Joker. And I took inspiration from The Dark Knight, when Joker burns the pile of money, and then you got that the guy, what's his name, Lau, sitting on top of the money, and he gets burned alive too. No one ever points that out because you don't actually see it happen, but he's sitting on top of the money, and he dies because the money gets burnt. Yeah, just a cool thing here. And, you know, they're all... Joker's body's burned along with them. So they're all ash, pretty much. All ashes. Yeah, pretty heavy stuff. Deathstroke's like, okay, we're cleansing your past self, and this is your new self. And from this day forward, you know, me and you, we're going to be unstoppable. And he offers Wolverine to join them, you know, just as Wolverine offered... you know, Deathstroke, you know, a job for his son. He's like, you know what, you got to train him, blah, blah, blah. So everything, what comes around goes around, is pretty much what's going on here. So, yeah, Wolverine got some pretty good development in this season, I must say. But, unfortunately, the way it turns out, he dies kind of unceremoniously. My only big regret with this season, I wish episode 49 was a little bigger. Like, I couldn't come up with much for it, but, the way it turned out, Rick and Wolverine both had to die in episode 49, and it's kind of a short episode, and it's kind of lackluster in my opinion. I think it's the weakest episode this season, is episode 49. I don't know, for me it's the weakest episode. Yeah, I don't know. Just the way the whole season played out, it just had to go that way. I couldn't come up with much else for it. Yeah, I don't know. Every episode's pretty solid and stands on its own, but episode 49 is kind of, yeah, kind of lackluster. I don't know, in my opinion it is. Every season's got probably a weak link somewhere. Yeah, anyways. So we're nearing the end here of episode 46, right? Yeah, 46. Episode 47. Oh, here we go. It's talking about titles. Okay. Episode 47 is called Taijitsu. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Taijitsu, whatever. Now, hopefully you guys knew to Google that, because you're probably wondering, what the heck is Taijitsu? Yeah, if you go on Google and search it, you'll understand right away why I picked that title. Literally the concept of yin and yang. If you're familiar with yin and yang, duality, lightness and darkness, evil, good, everything coexists with each other. Yin and yang pretty much is relevant in everything, in every aspect of life. It's actually a really cool concept. And obviously the connection with Deadpool and Deathstroke being yin and yang. But I didn't want to call the episode yin and yang. That's kind of weird. So I literally looked up, is there an alternative word or something for yin and yang? And it turns out there's this thing called Taijitsu, which is like the study of yin and yang or something like that. So I thought it'd be cool to title the episode just that. It's a cool one-word title, kind of like episode 44. Single-word title, and it's called Taijitsu. And yeah, I just assumed people would Google that to be like, what is that? And they'll figure it out right away. Deadpool and Deathstroke are yin and yang with each other. I'm not sure which is which, yin and yang. I'm not too familiar with it, but Deadpool is obviously supposed to be the light, and Deathstroke is the dark, if you couldn't tell. So yeah, that's why episode 47 is called Taijitsu. Yeah, don't have much else to say about this one. It's pretty straightforward. It's an emotionally heavy episode, just like episode 33. And hopefully I get my viewers to feel something when they see it, you know? Because Deadpool pretty much has to kill his own father. And, yeah, it's a sad thing. and then Harley exacts her revenge in sort of a twist ending. Because, like, at the end of this episode, it's like, you know, as soon as Deathstroke dies, it's like, what happens now? There's 3 more episodes. Like, Jesus Christ, what happens now? And all of a sudden, Harley appears and kills Deadpool. And even after that, you're probably like, what happens now? There's 3 more episodes. Yeah. It's a crazy thing. Like, I had this pop. It's Martha Wayne as the Joker. Now, I'm not too familiar with that comic, but it's basically a female Joker pop. And I thought it'd be cool to use that as like a Harley Quinn. You know, dresses herself up as the Joker after he dies, because she's mourning him immensely, and she got a hammer in her hand, obviously, so she kills Deadpool with it. Yeah, that kind of worked itself out perfectly. Yeah, so Harley kills Deadpool, which is nuts. And you got this. The final shot of this episode is obviously supposed to represent the yin and yang, because Deadpool is laying, you know, on top, and then at the bottom you see Deathstroke laying the other way, and it's supposed to be yin and yang. That's the visual imagery right there. And I end this episode with a quote from Steven Spielberg about mentoring somebody, and how you shouldn't create them in your own image, but let them create themselves, or whatever. It's how you should let somebody be their own person, and not tell them, you know, you shouldn't force all your ideologies onto somebody and expect them to, you know, be just like you. You know, if you have, it's like raising a kid or whatever. Like, I don't have kids or anything, but you should let somebody be their own person is the main idea of this episode, like the main lesson learned. Obviously that refers to Deathstroke, you know, trying to make Deadpool into a weapon or whatever, and Deadpool wanted to do his own thing, and, you know. So I thought that'd be a cool thing to include at the end there. A nice quote from Steven Spielberg, obviously one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So, yeah. And this is easily one of the best episodes. I would say in this season, episode 40... Okay, let's see here. Episode 43, episode 44, 46, 47, which is this one, and 50. 5 episodes. So half the season. 5 of these episodes here, the ones I just mentioned, I think personally are some of the best episodes of the whole show. So yeah, this is easily the best season, I think. Yeah, 5 of these episodes are, like, definitely hit it right out of the park. You know, really good. At least I think so. If I do say so myself. Yeah, 43, 44, 46, 47, and 50. Yeah, those 5. The other 5 are really good too. It's just, you know, not as good as those. So anyways, yeah, Deadpool kills his own father, or snaps his neck or whatever. Yeah, you know, you never see Deadpool get really too emotional ever in the show, but this season, you know, I wanted to change things up and give him an arc and everything, and yeah, and then when he comes back to life in episode 49, it's kind of this, like, this dark humor sort of thing, where it's like, oh, Deadpool's joking around again and everything. Yeah, that's just meant to be dark humor, pretty much. And also, too, I couldn't just sit there and be like, have Deadpool be all sad again and like, whoa, what's going on, blah, 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 I should be dead, I deserve to be dead, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do all that again. So, I kind of had to do some dark humor there with episode 49 when he comes back to life. Yeah. But anyways, here's Harley, dressed as the Joker, and, big moment here. Kills Deadpool. Jeez. Yep. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this one. I mean, this episode is very solid in my opinion. There's not much to say. It's just you watch it and it's like, wow. Very shocking. See, Deadpool teleports them away. Joy's there. She's like, what the heck? And, here we go. Deadpool accepts his fate. And here's the imagery coming up with yin and yang. You got the light, and then you got the dark. And there you go. That's it right there, yin and yang. If you put up a picture of yin and yang right above that, you'll see that they match up pretty well. And then ends with a quote here. Alright, so we're nearing the end. I can't believe it. Jesus, I've been talking for like... God, so long. So episode 48 here is called A Soul for a Soul. That's also a pretty, oh no, Time for a Throttle. Time and a Throttle, my bad. I mixed up the two. The next episode's called Soul for a Soul. Now this one's called Time and a Throttle. That one's pretty straightforward. It's a play on Time in a Bottle, which is a great song by, hold on a minute. Oh geez, did I really forget his name? Oh, Jim Croce, right? Jim Croce? Jim Croce? Time in a Bottle. You know, it was in X-Men Days of Future Past with Quicksilver. If I Could Save Time in a Bottle. Great, great song. I thought it'd be a cool title to use because Time in a Throttle. Obviously, throttle means like engine. So, the engine of the time machine. So, the time stone is in the engine of the time machine because it gets put into the time machine. So, time in a throttle. So, that's what that refers to. It refers to the time stone being inside the time machine. And yes, this does tie back into Season 2, the episode Emmett Travis Brown, where you find out things didn't go as well as they did with making the time machine. And Emmett is actually a sort of a traitor. Now, I actually did have an idea, just to make episode 49 a little longer, but I didn't use it, was where Thanos is about to kill Rick right before it happens. He's like, come on, Travis, sacrifice him to me or else I'm going to kill him. And there was going to be this moment where Travis is like hesitating, and then in his mind, he kind of has like a hallucination. Kind of like in Season 3, where he sees Emmett and talks to him. It was in Season 3. It's called Blast from the Past, that episode where Travis hallucinates Emmett and talks to him. There was going to be a scene like that in episode 49, where it would have been kind of like in Black Panther. Remember Black Panther in the ancestral plane? When he's talking to all the other, his ancestors, and he's like, all of you were wrong. You know, to hide ourselves from the rest of the world or whatever. It was going to be along those lines, where Travis would have been yelling at Emmett, you know, kind of like an ancestral plane sort of scene. You were wrong to kill Rick, you know, you shouldn't have done this, blah, 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 what were you thinking? And it would have been like, you know, Emmett would have been talking to him like, you know what, I had no other choice, blah, 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 and I ended up saving Jeffrey, blah, 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 and you know what? It would have been along those lines, but I didn't include it, because it kind of would have been redundant, in my opinion. And it would have been like a rehash of Season 3. We already had a scene where Travis talked to Emmett. As like a hallucination. I didn't want to do it all over again, so that's why I didn't include it. But, you know what, I almost did. It would have made episode 49 a little longer, but I didn't do it. So, yeah. I love Black Panther, by the way. I want to watch that again now. All of you were wrong! So yeah, here we go. They meet Thanos, and I had to come up with this idea of like, okay, why would Thanos show up now, and why would he be here looking for the stone? So I made up this thing where, like, Thanos has been searching the entire universe for hundreds of years, and this is the last area that he hasn't, you know, where he hasn't looked. And then you find out the Soul Stone can't be found. It actually, you need a sacrifice for it. And the fact that Thanos couldn't figure this out, I don't know. I just had Nathan Drake know it because Nathan Drake knows his stuff. And I also included a joke. Nathan Drake, you look so young. Well, I found the Fountain of Youth. Because obviously this takes place 30 years in the future. You figure he'd look a little older, but I included a thing there where he found the Fountain of Youth or whatever. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, and I had to recreate Season 2. The scene where Rick gets killed. I had to recreate that whole thing. I had to figure out, okay, Rick's got to be lying down this way. The time machine's got to be angled this way, blah, blah, blah. Pinhead's got to be standing right here. It's kind of tricky. But yeah, it's cool to go back and like recreate stuff. So yeah. And of course I made this black and white. Oh, by the way, I gotta explain that. You notice certain flashbacks are black and white, but certain flashbacks are in color. That was done on purpose. Because up until this season, all the flashbacks had to do with Travis. Like the episode 15, I think it was, Emmett Travis Brown. That whole episode was in black and white. Obviously for stylistic choice. Now, I knew in this season there was going to be flashbacks with Deadpool and all that stuff. So I decided, you know what? The Travis flashbacks will be black and white to fit in with that. And then the Deadpool flashbacks will be in color. Just so you can differentiate between the two. You know what? So it doesn't get too confusing like that or anything. And plus, you know, it's cool to see everybody in color once in a while. I don't want to have Vito Corleone just in black and white the whole time. Like, you know, you can see everybody in color. So yeah, I did that on purpose just so I could differentiate between the two. And yeah, it worked out pretty well, I think. More water here. Hold on. Yeah, so... And if you notice, too, right at the beginning of episode 41, the prologue, it starts black and white for a split second, and then it turns into color. I did that on purpose, just to be like, okay, this is the past, by the way. And there's going to be these flashbacks with Wolverine and stuff and Deadpool. They're going to be in color starting now. That's why I did that. But, yeah, these flashbacks are black and white, just to fit in with the Season 2 episode. And yeah, it turns out Thanos was the one who killed Rick, and then he ends up killing Rick again. Snaps his neck later on in episode 49. And Thanos also kills Travis, which was a crazy thing. Yeah. So here we are outside again. Just to have a different location, you know. I want to take... There's only so many different locations I can use, you know. Yeah. It's another tricky thing about this show, is like, I don't have a million different locations I can go to. I have just my room, you know, I got right outside my backyard here, I can use this spot for certain scenes. Yeah, I've only been to this spot twice. It was at the end of Season 2, right, where Deadpool teleports Wolverine outside, and then the end of Season 3, where Wolverine comes across Nathan Drake. So yeah, I've only been out here twice, I think, for the show. This is the third time now. So yeah, utilize that pretty well. So yeah, this is the future, obviously, where Pinhead is killing everybody, and yeah, this is the bleak future. That thankfully never happens. But I also had to come up with an idea of like, well, how does Thanos know about this if he this is a different version of him? Well, he's like, well, I used the, I think, yeah, the time stone to view all 14,605 possibilities. Obviously, I took that from Infinity War. So, yeah, and then he's like, in this reality, this is the only one where I obtained all 6 stones. And I had to come up with this idea of, how do we kill Thanos? Well, one of the stones... They do something to one of the stones and it kills him, and he has no idea that it's been tampered with. So I have Harley sacrifice herself to it because of the guilt of killing Deadpool like that or whatever. And plus she's got nothing to live for. Well, in her eyes, she's got nothing to live for. So it was all, it was all a thing I had to come. It's very complicated. I've already said this many times, but coming up with all this stuff was very tricky. Yeah. Like I said, you guys are watching it, you probably don't, you don't realize how tricky it was. But it was very, very tricky. So yeah, we're coming up here on the you've got to sacrifice Rick to me thing. Yeah. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Also, too, Thanos has all 6 stones on his glove there, his gauntlet, I should say. I didn't want to paint or anything on any of these pops. Like I don't want to tamper with any of these pops in any way, like I said earlier. So I was like, you know what? Do I need to paint over these stones just to make it look like he doesn't have one? You know, he's missing the Soul Stone. I didn't want to paint over it. So since this is in black and white, I was like, you know what? The viewers can't tell what he has, so I'm not going to do anything. But then later on in episode 49 and 50, you know, you can see Thanos in color, and you can see that he's got all 6 stones on his glove. So what I didn't establish this, but I guess you could say the Soul Stone, you know, it's not really there, even though it looks like it is. Yeah, you just got to take it with a grain of salt and be like, okay, he only has 5 stones, even though it looks like he has 6. I don't know. I didn't want to tamper with my pops, okay? I didn't want to paint over it, over the stone. Like, paint it gold or whatever to match the glove. Yeah. So that's why it looks like that, if anybody was wondering. Alright, so we're nearing the plot twist here. Well, it's already been revealed, I guess. You can pretty much figure it out. Yeah, Thanos disguised himself as Pinhead. Here we go. Jesus. And I love, too, that they made the Thanos pop, like, much bigger. Even though he comes in the regular size box. They do have, like, a bigger Thanos you could buy, but I'm glad they made this one. I guess you could say life size, or to scale, whatever, because he's obviously bigger than them. He's a bigger character. And yes, I did specifically buy Thanos just for this. This is the only occasion where I've bought a pop just for the show. I do love Thanos as a character, but I didn't really, you know, I wasn't like, oh, I gotta buy that pop or whatever. No, I knew for the show I'd had to include Thanos when I figured that out. So I went ahead and bought the pop. Yeah. That's the only time I've ever bought a pop specifically for the show. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. It wasn't like he was expensive or anything. It was only like $10, so. And I'm glad to have him. He's a great looking pop, actually. He looks fantastic. And I love the character, so yeah, it all worked out. Alright, don't know if I have much else to say about this episode. I mean, it's pretty straightforward what's gonna happen here. Yeah. This one's pretty long, too. I think this one's like, 17 minutes, 16 minutes, something like that. I don't know. But, might as well start talking about the other 2 episodes at the end here. Episode 49 is called A Soul for Soul. That one's pretty obvious because Wolverine, you know, he sacrifices himself to bring back Deadpool. And he says, a soul for a soul. And then episode 50 is called Coda. Okay, so time to explain that one. I wanted episode 50 to have also a one-word, cool-sounding title, okay? So I was like, okay, what do I call the finale? And the first thing that came to mind was the word Coda. Now, if you guys are familiar with Led Zeppelin, and I'm very familiar with Led Zeppelin, they're absolutely, like, one of my favorite bands of all time. Probably second favorite of all time. Their final album was called Coda. Now, it's not their real final album, but their final album was called In Through the Outdoor. And after that came out, their drummer, John Bonham, died. He's arguably the best drummer of all time, by the way. After John Bonham died, they didn't make any new music. They were done. But they released this album called Coda, which was an album of unused songs that they had, that they never used on any of their other albums, right? But the way their albums get looked at and grouped together, it's Coda is treated as like their final album, and I've always viewed it as their final album. I think it was in 2015, they had all their albums like reissued, like deluxe editions of all their albums, and even Coda got a deluxe reissue, even though it's technically not their, you know, a real album by them. Well, it is an album by them, but it's not like an official album or anything like that. And the word Coda, you know, obviously I include the definition for it. It means, you know, it's an ending. It's a coda is a coda. I mean, it speaks for itself. It's an ending of a piece of music per se, or a piece of art. And I mentioned The Walking Dead earlier, one of my favorite shows. They actually called one of their episodes Coda. It was the season think it was season 5. Was it season 5? I think it was the season 5 mid-season finale was called Coda. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh yeah, Coda. Awesome. And the reason why they used that was because that episode ended a storyline that was going on with Beth in the hospital, if you remember that. Yeah, I thought that was a cool thing that they did. It ended a particular storyline that was going on, so it made sense. And when I was thinking of, like, what title should I use, Coda came to mind first. I was like, oh yeah, Coda from Led Zeppelin, from Walking Dead. You know, another title I thought of would have been called Ascension. Not the Zombies map Ascension, but I thought that would have been a cool one-word title, Ascension, to refer to, you know, after Travis dies, the camera pans up, which mirrors Emmett's death, by the way, if you couldn't tell. He's kind of ascending to the heavens, I guess you could say. Or ascending to something greater, you know. He died for a good cause, whatever. But I didn't want to call it Ascension. I thought Coda worked better as a final title. And going back to Breaking Bad, my favorite show of all time, the final episode was called Felina, which was an anagram for finale. So I thought, you know what, Coda itself means finale in a way. I think that's a perfect title to use. And I would just throw in the definition right at the beginning, just so people understand what it means and everything. It would be a cool thing. So that's why episode 50 is called Coda. Long-winded explanation there, but mainly because of Led Zeppelin is the reason why I used Coda. So, yeah. Anyways, this is the episode that I'm least proud of this season, because you get 2 huge deaths in this one, Rick and Wolverine. And it's like, there's not much else going on here. I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of rushed, in my opinion. Even though it wasn't rushed by any means. But I couldn't figure out any other way to do this. So, sadly, Rick dies and Wolverine die, both unceremoniously. But thankfully, you do get to see Rick in the finale, which I'll get to that scene in a minute. That amazing thing I came up with, which I am very, very proud of. So here we go. It's like, you gotta sacrifice somebody. You know, and you're probably, like, screaming at your screen, like, Travis, why didn't you sacrifice Rick? He was gonna die either way. The whole point of this is to say, Travis and Emmett are no longer the same person. I mean, they're the same person. But at this point, Travis, this version of Travis, does not have the capacity to do something evil like that anymore. This Travis has grown more mature and more noble than Emmett ever did in 30 years. You get what I'm saying? This version of Travis is a better person than that Emmett. That's the whole point of this. Emmett, you know, was, I don't want to say a weak old man, but he gave in. You know what I mean? Even though, you know, oh, I can use the time travel. I can time travel and save him anyways, whatever. What I'm trying to explain is, this Travis here has grown more as a person in a short amount of time than Emmett ever did in 30 years. And he doesn't have it in him to sacrifice Rick. He doesn't. He can't do it. After hearing what Emmett did, it's just like, that's like the cherry on top. He's like, no, there's no way I could do something like that. That's horrible. I can't believe Emmett did that, you know. You gotta understand, too, Emmett was willing to do anything to get that time machine made. So, I can understand why. But, that's the whole point of this, is to say, Travis, it's too low for him. He couldn't do that. There's no way. After all the things he and Rick went through. Yeah, so. Anyways, here we are. The last few characters. This is it. Pause. And you know what? I literally, you know, I said earlier, I wanted to tie up every loose end. I was like, you know what? I had a Christmas special. That was canon. You know, it actually is part of the story. You can go back and watch the Christmas special if you want, from 2016. There was a character I introduced in that, but he never showed up ever again. And it was Baby Groot. So I was like, you know what? I should have the giant Groot show up here, because I do have a giant version of him, the 10-inch one. And he can fight Thanos. because it's been a couple years since that Christmas special. I don't know how long it's been, you know, in terms of the time on the show. A couple months, maybe. But the tree has grown up quite a bit. So I had, you know, since Deadpool knows about the Christmas special, and he's like, oh, let me reference the Christmas special here. And he obviously knows Groot, because he was there, so he teleports Groot there, and I don't know, I thought that was a funny thing. So I literally tied up every single loose end, even in the Christmas special. So that's pretty funny. But as I mentioned earlier, 11's out there somewhere. And you gotta understand, too, this is a world that they're living in. There's tons of other characters that we've never seen before. Yeah. Like Smith mentioned, he had a new boss. Who's that new boss he had, you know? We never met him. Or her, you never know. You know, the one he sent to kill 11. We never met that person. There's so many off-screen characters that have never been introduced, that you never know about. There's people in, you know, this is a whole world here. We're just focused on these characters. But I wanted to make sure that every character we ever saw has an appearance in this season that's still alive. So that's why I brought Groot back mainly. So yeah. And here we are. This is the finale. This is episode 50 here. And I gotta talk about this opening prologue scene. Now, I'm hoping you guys could tell right away. Something about this prologue seems off. It looks different. That's because I literally went back and used the original lighting I used in the first 3 seasons, just for this scene. Now, here we are. It shows up, you see somebody's feet, and it's revealed, oh, look who it is. The first person you ever see in the first episode. It's Jeffrey. What I did here, the way I used to shoot this show, I used to use my lamp with a specific light bulb. Nowadays, season 4 and 5, I got a new. We have these new light bulbs in our house that are more eco-friendly, I guess you could say. Well, they're both eco-friendly. The one here and then the newer one. But we got some newer ones that are even more eco-friendly, and they have a different sort of look to them. Now, obviously, this looks like yellowy, sort of. It has a yellowy look to it. And you notice in Season 4 and 5, there's more of like a bluer kind of look to the light bulb. And also, I have a brand new thing called a ring light. If you know what a ring light is, you know, that's what I use for the lighting. So Season 4 and 5, I had new light bulbs, and I also had a ring light that I used. So that's why Season 4 and 5 look so different as compared to the first 3 seasons. So, what I did here, I put away the ring light, I switched out the light bulb for the old light bulb. I still have them. The old light bulbs I used to use on the first 3 seasons, and I literally filmed this specific scene just like that, just for this scene, to make it look like season, you know, this takes place between season 3 and 4, just like the Christmas special, by the way. So I decided to do that just for this, and this is also a tribute to Breaking Bad right here, because in the episode Ozymandias, if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's the third to last episode of the show. It's arguably the best episode of TV ever made, by the way. I'll just say that. It begins with a prologue that is a flashback to better times. And the flashback ends with Walt disappearing, Jesse disappearing, and then the RV disappearing. I believe that's the order. So I thought I'd do a cool callback to Breaking Bad right there with having everybody disappear. Now, some people might get confused and be like, wait, are these disappearing because of Thanos' snap? No, it has nothing to do with Thanos' snap. That's just a coincidence. No, they disappear because it's supposed to establish, like, oh, this is really the end. Like, everyone dies slowly, one at a time. Like, literally, what I love about that scene is I got to include Jeffrey in the final episode. I got to include the Joker in the final episode. I got to include Rick, Dana, Lewis, all those great characters in the final episode. And it fit perfectly, and I'm so proud of that. And I used the original lighting, and it looks authentic, and it worked out perfectly. I love it. Yeah, it's a very short scene, but I'm very proud of it. So yeah, it's just, I hope you guys loved it. I love seeing it, because I know I did. Alright, so I got 10 seconds left here on this this narration. I gotta start a new one, so here we go. It's gonna stop at any second now. I'm gonna get the message. Here we go. Okay, so track 3 here. Yeah, so that beginning scene there, I thought it'd be cool also to have it be like, oh, you know, what's the occasion? What's going on in the scene? It's Lewis's birthday. I thought that'd be a funny idea, because he's obviously like a comedic relief character. Just to bring some levity to the heaviness of the show. So I thought it'd be cool to have it like, okay, Dana's making his birthday cake, Joker's out of his box because Lewis requested it or whatever, and he's wearing a blindfold. You know, I thought it'd be a funny thing to do. And it worked out really well, I think. So, yeah, and I got to use the old Joker pop with his box, prison, and stuff. And you know what? And I purposely filmed that scene last. Just, again, like Breaking Bad, they filmed that prologue scene in Ozymandias. That's the last thing they filmed. So I did that on purpose. I waited until the end to film that one scene. Yeah, and it turned out perfect. Just how I imagined it. I love it. So anyways, and by the way, the order they disappear in is the order they die, if you didn't notice. So, yeah. The order they die from that point, because I know Deadpool ends up dying and coming back to life or whatever. But, yeah. So, that's what happens there. But here we go. This is the finale, officially, right here. The last thing we ever see are these coming scenes here. And, yeah, I knew Travis was going to die. I might as well mention it, but my idea for what would have happened in episode 100 would have been similar to this, where Travis dies. And Rick would have taken over as the new lead of the show in the following seasons. Because I wasn't sure how long this was going to go, but I knew in episode 100, if that ever happened, Travis would have died and Rick would have taken over. But that's not how it played out here. But you know what? I'm glad this show was only 5 seasons, because 50 is a good number, I think. It's not too long, it's not too short. It's just right. Yeah, it's perfect, I think. And Travis's death couldn't have been any better, I think, than this, because he essentially gets killed by Smith. It just worked out perfectly, I think. And then here we go. Here's the stone, blah, blah, blah. And Deadpool lives, you know. Throughout the show, Deadpool died twice, came back to life twice. So yeah, he makes it out alive, which is good, because out of anybody, he deserves it the most after all he's been through. Yeah, and plus he's obviously a fan favorite. And Joy makes it out too, because she's pretty much innocent. I mean, Jesus. So yeah, Joy's pretty much the widow of Travis, even though they never married or anything like that. She's essentially his widow. And here we go. Big shocking moment right here. Jesus Christ. And this is a great visual that I imagined in my head. Right here. The blood. Right there. Look at that. I kind of wish I made it a little more bloodier, but it's okay. Yeah, the only time you ever see one of these guys bleed. Right there. Yeah, we got Thanos smiling. I love the look on Thanos' face, by the way. It's so funny. Jesus, I'm trying to think now. Does he ever smile like that in the movie, in Infinity War? I know he smiles in Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever when he's sitting in his chair. But Jesus Christ, I don't think he ever smiles in Infinity War. That's pretty funny. So here we go. This great moment here. He gets overpowered and then boom, blows up. And that's it. And then this mirrors right here, like I mentioned. Episode 15, where Emmett dies. This is literally the exact same spot where he died. And you got Deadpool and Joy standing where Jeffrey and Travis were standing. And then she says the exact same words. Just hold on, Emmett, or whatever. Those are the exact same words Travis said to Emmett. Just hold on. And I purposely did that. Oh, and Travis's last words. You talking to me. You should already know. That's the name of the first episode. Obviously, it's a famous quote from Taxi Driver. You talking to me. I literally knew those were going to be Travis's last words, because as he's dying, he's going to say it, and yeah, it's perfect. It has to be his last words. And that's a great reference to the first episode. Yep, that's it. Travis is dead. And, obviously using the same tombstone that I've used for so many. It's literally the same tombstone every time, if you can't tell. I only have one. Or gravestone, whatever you want to call it. And that's it. You know? It couldn't have ended, you know, I was like, how do I end this? And I have it end with Deadpool standing in the exact same spot where Jeffrey was standing in episode 1. And then Travis's grave is where Travis was standing in episode 1, when they're standing right next to each other. And they say, you know, you talking to me, blah, 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 what's your name? It's all just a big reference to the first episode, pretty much, the final shot. And it's like a nice little zoom out thing, and, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I could have ended this any other way. Yeah, right here. It's literally like the first episode. And then here we go. This is the final shot right here. Of course, there's an after credit scene, which is funny, but this is the final shot of the show. Not the last thing I filmed. The last thing I filmed was the beginning prologue with the OG lighting. But here we go. And we get into the nice Paris song, Only Love. If you guys don't know Paris, P-V-R-S, that's how you say it, by the way, Paris. They are my favorite band, and I listen to a lot of music, so that's kind of a, it's kind of a hard thing to achieve there, being my favorite band. I love Paris. I discovered them. I actually discovered them in 2016. But it was only one song. I didn't, for some stupid reason, I didn't go and listen to the rest of their music. I discovered one song by them. It was a song called Fire, because WWE used it for their, I think it was Extreme Rules 2016 pay-per-view. And I thought it was a really cool song, so I looked it up and listened to it, and I loved it. But I didn't listen to their other music for some reason. But this band, they had a new album come out. It was August of 2017. And they had a song called What's Wrong, which is like the main hit from that album pretty much. It was on the radio quite a bit, and I heard it. I was like, oh yeah, it's that band Paris. So I listened to that song, loved it, and discovered all their other music, and I literally fell in love with that band. That band is amazing. Like their whole aesthetic, their whole vibe, their whole sound, everything about them is amazing. I love that band to like no end. So I thought it'd be cool to include their music. But the thing is, their music's copyrighted, obviously. So I became such a fan of them that I found out they had an EP that they made themselves. That's not copyrighted or anything. It's 5 songs. I think they made it back in 2012 or something like that. They're not that old of a band, by the way. So they have this EP that they made by themselves that they weren't when they weren't signed to a label or anything. So you can use that music without getting copyrighted. So the music that's in my video intro, it's a song called Demon Limbs by them. And it's just, you know, I'm only playing the instrumental part, but there's lyrics and everything. So I use that on the intro of all my videos because it's not copyrighted. So I was like, you know what? For the ending of the show here, I want to include a song for the credits, and I literally was like, you know what, let me use one of those Paris songs, and Only Love was perfect, I think. It's basically the song, I guess you could say, it's like Travis saying, I hope I did a good job for you guys. Pretty much for Joy and Deadpool, I guess, the lyrics. It's not meant to... The song isn't per se meant to match the show or anything like that, but I thought it was a good sounding song I could use for the finale. Kind of like an emotional song. You know, this is the ending. Essentially, the lyrics can kind of match what Travis hopes. You know, I hope that it's enough. You know, you're the only love that I found. You know, kind of talking to his family, what's left of them, Deadpool and Joy. And then here, obviously, if you couldn't tell, these black and white pictures, they're the thumbnails for every single episode, played in reverse. So episode 50 to episode 1 in black and white. And I took this idea from actually Rocky V of all things, even though Rocky V is not a good movie. I love the end credits of Rocky V because it was meant to be the last Rocky movie because they had the original director come back and everything. And there wasn't a Rocky movie for another 16 years after that. But in the ending of Rocky V, in the credits, they have pictures from all the other movies in black and white. But they go in chronological order. Me, I decided to go backwards. And they play the great Elton John song, Measure of a Man. Great ending to that movie, by the way, even though Rocky V sucks. But I always loved that, and I took that inspiration for this. So here we have all the thumbnails for all 50 episodes played in reverse, black and white, with a great song. And you know what? This is about to end. So I don't know. I hope that I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, and if you stuck around for this whole commentary, thank you very much. Words can't explain how grateful I am. And that's the ending right there. And then of course we got a great Ferris Bueller tribute here. And no, there won't be a season 6, but there may be something. You never know. I couldn't think of a better way to cap this off here. Or a better end credit scene. But thanks for watching, guys. I love you. Bye-bye. Expecting a trailer for season 6? Sorry, we don't have that kind of money.